Hello, this is Suvarchala, and the second topic which I have selected for the OER is cell transport. So today I am going to discuss about cell transport. The contents includes the introduction about the transport, the structure and function of the cell because transport occurs within the cell. So the different types of cells like plant cell, animal cell, the structure and function of a cell membrane, because mostly the transport occurs through the membrane, and the types of cell transport, that is passive, active, the summary and some of the references which I have included. Coming to the cell is a basic building block of any organism. So a multicellular organism is built from an unicellular or a cell. A cell divides, then forms the tissues, then organs and everything. So the basic building block of life is nothing but cell. Some cells have cell wall and the others have cell membrane. The examples are like plant cell have both cell wall as well as cell membrane, but animals have only a cell membrane. Coming to the plant cell, you have seen the figure here where a cell wall is there, a cell membrane is also there, and some of the organelles like mitochondria, nucleus, the nucleolar membrane, cytoplasm and the chloroplast. So the cell membrane is the outer lining, that is, it encloses the cytoplasm with all its cell organelles, and the only difference between the plant cell and the animal cell is a cell wall and a chloroplast. Next, moving on to the animal cell, here you don't see a cell wall, but the outer lining is nothing but cell membrane, and you see the cytoplasm with all its cell organelles here, and chloroplast is absent in this. So this is the major difference between a plant cell and an animal cell. The functions of the cell. You have seen the structure of the cell. The functions of the cell are metabolism, transport and division. Metabolism means it respires, it gets energy. That means ATP is generated through respiration, nothing but metabolism. Transport is it transports some substances because they have to move into the cell, distributed to all other areas. So transport is required. And after that you have division. That means cell divides to form new daughter cells. A mother cell divides to form two new daughter cells. That is mitosis and meiosis is required. Coming to the first function, cellular respiration, nothing but metabolism, the energy for life. So when a cell respires or undergoes metabolism, ATP is being generated. And the powerhouse of the cell is nothing but mitochondria. You can see the mitochondria here, the structure of it, the outer membrane, the inner, and the folds inside called cristae. So in the matrix you can see some of the processes undergoing in the mitochondria. The stage 1 is glycolysis. That means glucose is broken down to pyruvic acid, and there you get an ATP there, and you also get an NADH, that is electrons carried by the reduced NADH. Then you see the carbon dioxide formed here in the mitochondria. This leads to this stage 2, that is Krebs cycle there. There you see again an ATP being generated, a carbon dioxide also being generated, and from here it leads to say stage 3, that is electron transport chain or ATP synthase action. That means 3 molecules of ATP is generated through metabolism or cellular respiration, which is the energy for life. The next one is the functions. But before moving to that, I have discussed only the metabolism because the transport is the one which I am going to discuss now, and division is already previously discussed in the cell division chapter. So coming to a cell membrane, here you can see the structure. It's a phospholipid bilayer, and you have some pores through which molecules can be transferred inside. So it's a bilayer of the phospholipids. That tells you that any substance which has to enter through the cell membrane should be lipophilic. After entering into the cell, it's water, nothing but hydrophilic. So the substances should be first lipophilic, more lipophilic, and then hydrophilic, so that they should be transported. And the functions are integrity, permeability, and homeostasis. Integrity means it maintains the integrity of the cell there. Once the cell membrane is lost, the cell dies there. That's why any fungus or bacteria entering into us, the antifungal drugs or antibacterial drugs dissolve the cell membrane through lysis. So the permeability is lost and the fungal cells die. The permeability means it does not allow all the substances to enter. So the permeability is maintained, and this leads to the homeostasis, balance in the cell. The cell transport across the membrane, so both cell wall and cell membrane are responsible to allow certain substances to pass in and out of the cell. So the different types of transport mechanisms, that is passive transport and active transport. The word itself tells you passive means there is no energy required. Passively it moves just. And active tells you that some energy is required during some transport, and this energy is got from the cellular respiration. So moving on to the first type of transport, that is passive, you have diffusion as well as osmosis, and diffusion is again divided into simple diffusion and facilitated diffusion. Diffusion means generally diffusing into the cell there. That means without any energy required, it is generally diffusing. That means from higher concentration to lower concentration. Initially it is in higher concentration. When it is diffusing, it is getting dissolved in the fluid there, so it moves to the lower concentration. So passive transport, here you have seen again the membrane there, the diffusing particles moving in and out. In simple diffusion, there are no carriers required, no proteins required. But in a facilitated diffusion, there is a carrier protein which is helping to be transferred there. So the carrier protein collects these diffusing particles and sends inside. So difference is carrier proteins are required in a facilitated, but in simple diffusion they are not required. The next one is osmosis. This is also a passive transport. That means from higher to lower concentration it is being passed, but a selective permeable membrane is there. A cell membrane is involved in it, and here it is moving from higher concentration to lower with the help of the membrane. The next type, now passive is over, we have come to the active transport. Energy is generally required for the transport. This energy got from the cellular respiration where ATP is generated. So here you see the extracellular fluid, then the membrane there. So any substance which has to be transported through the membrane inside the cell, there is some energy required which is helping the substances to move inside. That tells you that active. Active means some energy is required. Now inactive itself you have phagocytosis, pinocytosis and receptor mediated endocytosis. Phago means a solid substance. So any solid substance, if it has to be transferred through the cell or the plasma membrane, these get engulfed and forms a vacuole here. Same like amoeba, it takes the food in the form of phagocytosis. Pinocytosis means a liquid substance getting transferred. So it is nothing but cell drinking. Phagocytosis is nothing but cell eating, since it is a solid substance. So you can see the liquid substance getting engulfed into the vesicle. So the neurotransmitters are also packed into the synaptic vesicles in this form. The next one is a receptor mediated. You have a receptor there. The ligand binds to the receptor. Now this whole part is engulfed as a coated vesicle and moves inside. Now coming to the summary, you have seen that passive and an active transport. So passive, it is diffusion, facilitated, that is simple diffusion, facilitated and osmosis. And in an active, you have seen that energy is required for the active transport, and you have seen some other things. So the summary is, in passive there is no energy required, in active energy is required. These are some of the references collected. Thank you.